What's the purest joy you've ever felt without intimacy, substances, or alcohol? I had never seen fireflies in real life, but got to see them when my daughter was 5. I wish I had a picture of my daughter's face when we had one, flashing and crawling up my shirt. She had every emotion you can have from awe to fright all in one. We got to experience it together for the first time. If my memory starts to fade, I hope that one is last to go. When my parents were on the verge of separation, I was very sad for a whole week, and I was just trying to process how our lives are going to change forever. One evening, my mom, my sis, and I were talking about this whole mess, and at the exact moment, my father opened the door, and there was awkward silence because mom and dad weren't talking at all. Suddenly, everyone laughed at the awkwardness of the situation, and that's when it hit me that this is probably the last time we are laughing as a family of 4. I tried to sort of record this moment in my mind forever, so can remember it when they separate. While laughing, I burst into tears because I felt pure joy and peace I was missing for the past week, and that day I understood the value of having a loving family. Luckily, my parents didn't separate, and things are better now. Hearing my wife was cured of cancer. Those words will forever be engraved in my memory and associated with pure joy. Being with someone I truly could be myself with. It lasted for only a few months, but I can't remember anything that comes close since. Even all my favorite hobbies and pastimes aren't anywhere near. I cherish those times the most since now I believe love and true friendship can happen since I felt it once. Me and my brother were dirt poor, but we saved up enough money for a McFlurry. We were at the McDonald's door counting up our coins to make sure we had enough. I went in, paid for the McFlurry with exact change. The person at the register saw my brother waiting outside by the door. She handed me 2. It felt like Christmas. Last night I went to Target, bought only what I needed, came home to my one-bedroom apartment, changed into comfy clothes, lit a candle, and opened the window to a complete downpouring thunderstorm. I made steak and potatoes and cauliflower. I sat on the couch, watched a romance movie, ate dinner. My cat crawled her way into my arms and just purred next to my ear while I held her. I vacuumed, folded my laundry, put it away, brushed my teeth and got into bed, and realized that not only do I have my own apartment to myself, I could still smell the aroma of dinner around, and it smelled like home. After all the years of silly roommates and being broke and working 2 jobs, I make enough to afford my own apartment, to buy a steak, and have enough time to spend time enjoying it. I almost cried for joy. I'm a software developer. During COVID, a close friend, 33 million, I'll call him Lou, of mine got laid off from his job at a catering company. He had taken a coding boot camp a year prior to that, so I knew he wanted to get into tech. I offered for him to live with me and my family during the pandemic rent-free and teach him how to code. He agreed, and for the following year and a half, I worked closely with him every single weekday, helping him through tutorials, projects, bugs, frustration, and moments of exasperation. A little backstory for context. Lou's family immigrated to the U.S. from Asia just before Lou was born. They had their fair share of financial struggles while Lou was growing up. Lou also got into some trouble with the law when he was younger and did some time in jail. After that, Lou worked hard in the restaurant industry for years, but rarely had full benefits. By the time COVID came around, he needed some serious dental work done with no way to pay for it. After living with us for a year and a half and applying to over 600 jobs in the last 6 months, Lou finally got an offer as a software engineer, not only paying more than he ever made at a restaurant, but also with full benefits so he could get dental work done. Also, getting your first engineering job is the hardest part of one's career, especially as a latecomer like Lou. So getting this job meant that Lou was essentially set for life as long as he kept working hard. The day I came home after he got the offer, we just laughed and cried and bro-hugged forever. It was one of the proudest moments of my life, and I'll never forget that feeling of truly lifting someone else up in a way that affects the rest of their life. This month marks his 3rd year into his engineering career, and he is still killing it. You my boy, Lou, you my boy. When I pick my son up from daycare, no matter what he's doing or playing with, he immediately throws it aside, shouts data, and runs over to give me a huge hug. Also, my daughter can always tell when I'm having a hard day, even when I'm trying to hide it. She'll pull me down to her level, give me a hug and a kiss, then say, "You're a good dada." being a teenager and driving your car down a country road blasting music knowing you are free. My cat once came to me all the way from across the house, sat on my stomach, and fell asleep. Out of all the much more comfortable places in the house, he chose me. I was in an accident and got a decent settlement when I was younger. I didn't even go crazy, but for a couple years I was able to buy everything I needed, a lot of stuff I wanted, and spend money on my friends. Genuinely, those years were the happiest I've ever been. So I guess my answer is having enough money not to just get through it for a little while. When Jay was like 11, I woke up at 5 a.m. while I was camping with my dad and his girlfriend. Walked to the water where I remembered fishing, caught two pickerel, just sat and enjoyed the sun coming up. Felt so proud to bring those back for breakfast. I should say something about my wife or son, but it's actually a music thing. I've sung with an early music chamber choir since roughly 2003. When COVID struck, we obviously had to take a break. The next summer we had a potluck and did some singing. I remember standing in a circle, looking at my friends, singing Talas's "If You Love Me," and I just broke down in tears. After such a long and difficult year, we were finally back together again, and it was an amazingly joyous occasion. I was snorkeling alone in a bay off a small Greek island. Suddenly there was a huge shoal of sardines all around me. There must have been thousands of them. I kept taking huge breaths and swimming underwater amongst them for as long as I could hold my breath. It was incredible, like a dream, almost as if I was flying with a flock of birds. I swam with them as long as I could until they headed for deeper water, picking wild blueberries at a park. It was the absolute perfect day outside. I was a kid in the 90s, so all was going great in my part of the world, and all the other kids were having a blast. This little thing happened over 30 years ago, but I remember every moment. We also found wild wintergreen to chew on. Perfect in every way. I would have to say the private last dance at my wife and Elle's wedding. DJ put on a song near to my heart and skedaddled to join the guests for our grand exit. Photographers snapped a couple pics and did the same. We had a whole song just to ourselves and the emotions of the day overwhelmed me. I didn't cry at the first look, but I cried then. I may have been a bit buzzed, but the happiness I felt was profound. I was crying due to a medical diagnosis. Once I got home, my dog immediately jumped onto my bed. He started rolling around over me and licking my tears. I would push him away and his goofy self would squirm back into my arms. I couldn't stop laughing. He then sighs, falls asleep on top of me like a weighted blanket, 70-pound pit bull. I felt safe, relaxed, and pure joy. I felt like he knew exactly what I was going through and knew I needed some extra unconditional love. Thad a very rough childhood and hid in music. On many rides, I'd sit in the back of the car looking out the window and wish the musician singing knew me and could take me away into the songs. Decades later, I went to one of Bob Seger's last concerts. During a lull in the crowd noise and a change of instruments, a typically very shy me screamed out, "I love you, Bob!" Being just one deck up, he looked right at me, or so it felt, and said, "I love you too." The crowd goers around me patted me on my back and smiled. It was the pure thrill of having him respond, and it felt amazing. Took me back decades and was the biggest surprise joy I had ever known so far.